35% of Canadians are about to go bankrupt if the Bank of Canada raises interest rates. And that announcement could happen as soon as March the 2nd. And in this video, I'm going to show you this article from the Daily Hive talking about Canadians not being able to pay their debt if the Bank of Canada increases rates. But of course, as always, if you would like to stay up to date on my marketplace of Surrey and the Fraser Valley, go ahead and subscribe. I do also try and cover a lot of provincial and federal topics like this one. And if I could ask a favor of you right now, it would be that you please go ahead and bankrupt the like button to help me get this information out to even more people that are interested to see what happens next week with the Bank of Canada and whether or not they're going to increase interest rates. Okay, so let's get into it. First of all, I'm going to say I am absolutely furious at the article I saw. For some stupid reason, I was still on Facebook scrolling through my feed this week, and I saw this article from the Daily Hive come up. And my new favorite thing to do, just so everybody knows, is as soon as I see divisive, clickbaity real estate articles, I like to add negative comments down below them, but not about the real estate market itself, but just how disappointed I am in media sources for the way they write articles. But that is my own bias opinion. So before I get into this article, I'm going to give you my bias opinion. There's a very good chance with everything that's going on in Ukraine that the Bank of Canada does not increase interest rates on March the 2nd. And it is my firm belief that if they again choose to not increase interest rates, that they're basically making a bubble. And now I'm going to dive into the Daily Hive's article that I found. Let me show it to you here. I haven't read it yet, so we're going to read it live because it's probably going to tick me off. Let's take a look. Here we go. Oh, right under me, you can barely, there we go. Now we can see it. 35% of Canadians say rising interest rates could push them to bankruptcy. Now, just on that title alone, I'm going to suggest that 35% of Canadians don't even know what would push them to bankruptcy. They don't understand finance that well to find out whether or not they would be pushed to bankruptcy. So I'm going to call BS already, but let's keep going. Nice big Bank of Canada. I love this. They always do the big institution sign at the front. With Bank of Canada interest rates set to rise, blah, blah, blah. A third of Canadians are reporting that the imminent hike could push them towards bankruptcy. So yeah, maybe, maybe not. I highly doubt it. Says new poll results. I'm not going to click on those poll results at the moment, but it does basically say that 35% of Canadians are worried about it. Let me keep going here. In March 2020, the Bank of Canada dropped its rates to a historic low. So here's my first point. If people are worried about their interest rates from this point forward, they're at the lowest rate ever. So if you can't come back from the lowest rate ever by a quarter point, we got a problem. But let's keep going. I love this line here. It says, after slashing to that historic rate, it gives many Canadians, particularly first-time home buyers, the financial opportunity to enter into the real estate market. That statement is 100% false. And let me tell you why. Slashing those interest rates at the beginning of the pandemic did absolutely zero to your mortgage qualification, because here in Canada, the best thing that the Liberal government has ever done is put in place what they call the stress test. This is where you don't get a lower interest rate just because interest rates go down. There is a minimum qualifying standard. That standard at that time, when those rates were dropped, was still 4.75%. Currently, it's sitting at 5.25%. So all these people that have got these 1.5% to 2% interest rates over the last 2 years, they've still qualified as if their mortgage payment was at 4 or over 5%. So it did not increase affordability at all. What it did was it freed up more cash to be spent on other things, but the housing affordability itself didn't change because you still qualified for the same amount. Absolute junk. If anything, interest rates and availability to cheap money by people that could afford a lot more is what actually caused real estate prices, to go up. So the lower interest rates didn't make housing more affordable for people. We need to stop saying this. Lower interest rates actually caused real estate prices to go up, making them less affordable. Let's get back into it. But after nearly 2 years of low rates, increases are expected. Absolutely, they should be. And I think we should get there as soon as we possibly can. As we approach what is likely to be the first of several rate increases in the coming year, don't necessarily believe that. more Canadians are concerned about how they will cope. All right. I guess this leads me to believe that most Canadians don't understand how interest rates impact them, as I've just ranted about. So let's keep going. The most vulnerable are those who have taken on credit to get by and aren't able to pay down the debt. Yeah. If you are living off of or above your means, off of credit, you're in trouble. And you're going to continue to be in trouble. However, if you're living off of credit cards, there's a very good chance that your interest rate on your credit card was at 19 to 21% before the pandemic, through the pandemic, and still. So this won't affect you. This is going to affect the cost of goods that you buy. So hopefully it will stop inflation from increasing, right? Which is a good thing. It'll actually make things more affordable. And it does have the potential of possibly increasing your mortgage payment, for instance, or your line of credit on your house if it's secured, if that line of credit is variable. So it's saying that the added debt servicing costs will then make it a lot harder and less affordable for families for things like housing. Well, I'm telling you, that is not the case. We get it. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to say it 10 times in this video. Lower interest rates cause prices to rise. That is the problem. Irresponsibility with debt is also a problem, but it doesn't get better the cheaper your debt gets, because the thing you're going to buy is just going to go up in value, or the cash itself becomes less valuable. So let's keep going. Younger Canadians were much more likely to report potential bankruptcy concerns, with 49% of age 18 to 34. If you're bankrupt between 18 and 34, you've got other issues like financial education, right? If you've gone bankrupt in that time, the problem is not the amount of money you've had access to. The problem is you don't know how to spend money or how to use credit. So those people think they're going to go bankrupt. And among those from 35 to 54, that number drops slightly to 41%. Now, again, I'm going to go back on exactly what I think here, which is those people don't know what would push them towards bankruptcy, because they've got themselves in such a poor financial position, borrowing too much money, spending too much, living beyond their means, that they very likely have no idea what bankruptcy even means. Let's keep going. Many younger Canadians who have to pay off debt on significant expenses such as tuition. I hate that tuition is expensive, but it is, and it's going to continue to be the longer they give student loans. A car, which anybody over cars, I hate it when you overcar. Don't overcar. Don't buy a brand new car. A car is the worst investment you can possibly make. I drive a $36,000 truck, okay? Everybody else should not drive a car more than $40,000. If you're buying a brand new car and you have $40,000 cash, you have my permission to buy a $40,000 vehicle. If you're taking payments on a vehicle, that car should be the base model, and you should not spend money on cars because it's an absolute waste of money. So if you're complaining about your car payment, that's your own damn fault. I should probably lighten up, but I'm when it comes to finances, I am extremely conservative with my money. So this is a bunch of people that have got themselves in a negative spot by their own doing. You can drive a $2,500 car and it's fine. You don't need to spend $75,000 on a vehicle. This is actually one of my favorite sayings or favorite cheesy analogies, okay? The difference between walking and a Toyota Corolla is immense. It's a big, big, big difference. It changes your life. You can now, get a better job, commute to work, that sort of thing. And that change in your life could cost you as little as, $26,000 to $30,000 for a brand new Toyota Corolla. But the difference between a Toyota Corolla, according to Google here, at about $25,000 Canadian, and a Lamborghini Aventador for $464,000, well, you're not getting much more benefits. So the cost of having that cool car is the cost of how big your ego is. Anyway, I'm being ridiculous here. I'm just saying the difference between a $25,000 smart purchase of a car can improve your life, and maybe an $80,000, $100,000, or $120,000 car, it no longer improves your life. It just feeds your ego. So anyway, let's keep going back to the article here. Just over half Canadians are concerned about their ability to repay debts, blah, blah, blah. An overwhelming 81% of respondents say they will be more careful with how they spend their money with increasing interest rates. And the lie detector determined that that was a lie. I don't think people are going to be more careful with their debts anytime soon if they're already in bad debts. And then we get to the best part of the article, which is this little section here that actually points out that lack of financial literacy is the problem, and that most Canadians don't even understand how rising or dropping interest rates will actually impact their personal situation. And in fact, 25% of Canadians say they do not have a solid understanding of how interest rates will impact their situation. And you know what that means? That means probably another 50% of Canadians lied on this survey. So maybe a little bit too much of a rant video here. I would be very interested to see what you think is going to happen coming up this week on March the 2nd. If the Bank of Canada is going to be smart enough to possibly put in a 1/4 point interest rate increase. I think everything that's happening in Europe right now, there's a very good chance that they don't do it again. And my personal opinion is every time from now on, actually from January, that they don't increase that rate, they are just making inflation worse and creating a bigger bubble. And that bubble is now actually becoming very prominent within my personal business here. I'm seeing the craziness that has gone on. And there's a very good chance that this craziness will continue if the Bank of Canada doesn't pump the brakes. Now, I said this 100 million, billion, gazillion times. I think the Bank of Canada talks themselves out of increasing rates responsibly, which would have been a 1/4 point previously in January and a 1/4 point in April. There's a very good chance that they're also not going to do a 1/4 point next week. And then April could be a full 1/2 point, or even worse, they could not do April as well and then do a whole 1/2 point in July for my birthday. And they're going to put themselves right back into the 2008 position or the 1981 position where inflation's going crazy. There was all sorts of financial issues going on and they just waited too long. Raising interest rates too fast, too late is the problem. Low interest rates are the problem for inflation. Not increasing interest rates soon enough, just a little bit at a time responsibly, is what causes some sort of financial disaster on the other side. Anyway, that's my opinion. I'm not an economist. I'm a real estate agent. I'm seeing what it's doing and what interest rates are doing as a whole in the marketplace, but it's not what people think. It's not, I'm going to go bankrupt because the Bank of Canada increases interest rates by, oh my goodness, a 1/4 point. The actual time that you're going to go bankrupt is probably if they keep rates too low, you acquire too much debt, and then they turn up the interest rates too fast. Please remember to subscribe and hit the like button. If you'd like to stay up to date on my listings and the Surrey marketplace, make sure to check out my Instagram. Watch this video before you go, and we'll see you in a couple of days.